So it's another day, and we have a lot more updates on the final puzzle challenge in Resident Evil Requiem. So people have discovered a bunch of things, and we're getting way closer to solving this puzzle. First off, this doll is confirmed to actually be the answer, but not this specific doll, but this exact 3D model of this doll. So it turns out you can pick up this doll, just not here, not this one. But you do have to get this doll. That is 100% confirmed. That is the missing piece of the puzzle, and everyone is scrambling to figure out how in the hell do we get this doll. And we've even confirmed where is it, where does it drop, but we cannot figure out how to make it spawn. So data miners have been working hard on this and still haven't solved it. But we have one major breakthrough, which is the restroom. So I called this out in my very first video about this, talking about how the restroom was super suspicious. Because if you go in the restroom here in the care center, there are 3 toilets, and you can flush these toilets as many times as you want. Well, apparently in the files related to this whole puzzle, these toilets can set a flag, okay, by flushing them 8 times. These specific toilets are set to a class of sub-toilets called, like, gimmick actors or something like that. I can't remember the name. And so they are for something in the game, which I kind of knew. I was very suspicious of, and it turns out it's very true. People are calling it Toilet Gate, and we're not 100% sure if it's just one toilet 8 times, but the data miners seem to make it sound like it's likely just 8 total flushes across all 3 toilets. Not some order or anything, but maybe it is. Maybe it's some specific order, but these toilets seem to be involved. And that's not all. So that flag, you have to do 8 flushes in order to set it. Well, they suspect that there's 2 other parts to this flag, and what they're finding, there's a 4 and a 2. And they're triggered by something. So, for example, maybe it's 4 of these light switches have to be flicked on or off or something. Or 2 of them. Or maybe this whole set of 3 counts as 1 light switch or something, right? There's a bunch of leading candidates, and I'll get to some of those in just a second. But there's 2 other flags that need to be set, and there's some other flag that also needs to be set. But the last one might be something simple, like just being in a location, but we really don't know because the data's all garbled when they data mine it. Remember that doll that I mentioned earlier? So we know where it can be found, and somebody has completed the final puzzle on accident named Gengar on YouTube, and he posted about it. And the final location was right here. He didn't even know. He kind of like vaguely remembered because he's just a casual player. And data miners seem to have confirmed what he found, which is that the doll spawns right here. So this area right here. So when you go try those things, you flush the toilets, you do a bunch of setup stuff, and then you want to see if it worked. You got to go all the way to here in the helicopter part and see if the doll appears at the base of this stairwell. If somehow you manage to figure it out, unlike everyone else who's actively trying, the doll will actually go into your inventory. It has some description like "we'll be together forever and ever, Marie's doll," something like that. And here's where it gets really weird. So that doll, if it goes to your inventory, apparently it will persist even when you complete your game. So you'll have to go and complete the game and then start a new game afterwards, and then the doll will be, I think, in your storage or something. And the data miners have found information that seems to confirm that that is true. The item will persist. So you cannot complete the puzzle on your first playthrough. You cannot complete the puzzle until after you find this doll, and then the next playthrough is when you'll be able to do the laughter thing and complete the final puzzle. And using cheat engines and stuff, people have confirmed that all you have to do is hold Emily and have the doll in your inventory and then do the laughter puzzle like I showed in the other videos, and that will complete the puzzle. And before I share all of today's fascinating new finds and new leads, new hints, I want to give a quick recap of what that is that you're supposed to do. So I'm going to do the quick TLDRs. You take the severed hand that you got after the fight with Maria in the elevator, and you solve this thing, and it will say, let's play, and give you a code. People have solved the code. I'm not going to go over that again. Then you go to the lead researcher's office, and this thing will be available again to interact with, and you'll just interact the code sun, and then star, and then you'll put in sun, moon, and then star, and then you'll put in sun, moon, sun, and then you'll put in moon, star, moon. And if you do this, you'll get this laugh. If you have that doll in your inventory, it will complete the final puzzle. I think you also have to be holding Emily's not confirmed. And that is the puzzle. So that confirms a few things. So now we got to talk about all the implications, and we got a whole bunch of new hints and things. And if you guys want to help try to solve this, go ahead, make new save files, try all the different triggers, try to figure out what the triggers are, things like that. So if all this is true, all the data mine stuff is true, then that rules out a few things. We don't need the singers or the people with auditory problems to be in the room when we play the laugh. It has nothing to do with anything like that, so we don't need to be trying things like that anymore. Instead, it's about trying to set up triggers, and we don't know what they are. So there's a bunch of theories about the triggers. I'm going to give you guys some of the most compelling and juicy ones, some that I've thought of and some that other people have thought of. So, for example, this is one I've thought of. So these singers people were obsessed with, but we have these triggers, and if what they said is true, and it's subject to change, it may not be this exact thing, but the toilet flushes were 8 flushes, and that's a trigger, and then we need a 4 and a 2. But the way that programming works, that does not mean 4 and 2 at all, because, for example, here's the example I want to get in your mind about how programming works. So say the 2, whatever the heck that means, right? Well, there's 2 of these singers, but you could actually have in the code, oh, you kill both the singers, that is 1 value. You kill both of the guys who have auditory problems, that's another value. If both those values are true, then you set the trigger of the 2 things to true. Like, so there's like a million different ways that it could be coded. So that makes it really hard to know exactly what it's going to be. One possibility is it's either killing the singers or not killing the singers, or the auditory people, killing them or not killing them. I think it's probably not, though, but it's possible that it could be. Then there's one that I personally think is plausible, but none of these are guaranteed. So these light switches, they really draw attention to these dumb light switches, and there's multiple sets of these all around the care center, and there's lots of zombies who are like, lights out, turn them off, lights. So it's like they draw your attention to them, and they come in sets. Like, I know there's 3 right over here by the blood lab. I know there's 3 over here by the kitchen, between the kitchen and the restroom. I think there's more in some other places too. So I don't know, maybe each set of them counts as a trigger. So like if all 3 of these are on and all 3 of these are on, then that's 2 of the triggers or something, and that could be the 2, or maybe there's more of them and you turn all of them on, then that's all 4. It's the 4 triggers for the thing that you need 4 of something. Not entirely sure, but it's definitely a fascinating possibility. Another possibility being talked about relates to Emily. So a lot of you guys probably didn't know this. I didn't know this. And a lot of you are going to be like, what? You guys didn't know this? There's an optional cutscene with Emily where if you come back to the medication room after doing the initial West Wing, then there'll be a cutscene in here where Emily tells you all about Marie and the monster and different things. There's just a lot of dialogue there. And maybe that cutscene plus all the normal cutscenes would then count as like, oh, there were 4 cutscenes with Emily. That's the 4 things you need for one of the triggers. Not entirely sure, but it's a very plausible thing that people are thinking about. The next 2 possibilities, one of them is fascinating. One of them is probably not it. So a lot of people are thinking about the roulette table having something to do with it, but we know this is a way to get an antique coin by shooting either 15, 29, or 7, and then spinning this and trying to get it on the same one that you shot and just repeating, and then it'll eventually pop up an antique coin and play some sound effect. It's possible that just doing that could be a trigger or something. But then I have another one I thought of. This is like me personally that I thought was fascinating. So we need 4 of something. Well, look at this, right? There's these 4 things. So maybe one of the triggers is you have to do all of the antique coin turn-ins here in the parlor, and maybe that will be one of the triggers. I don't know, man. The one Gengar guy who did it, he has no idea what he did, but it was his first playthrough, so he may have been more thorough, and he may have gone in here and done all of these and turned enough of these in to get all of these rewards. I don't know. You'd have to ask the guy, and he doesn't really remember much of anything, so who knows? Another thing that I personally thought of is it could be getting into all 4 of the optional areas. So we have the pantry locked behind a key. We have the filling room locked behind the security band level 1. All the optional side rooms, I should say, because cold storage is locked, but that's not optional. You have to. So this one's optional. Pantry's optional. This one over here, there's closet by the waiting room. That's optional. And then there's this room right here by the blood lab, which is also optional, and they're all locked. And so maybe going into each of those 4 rooms with whatever, key you need for each one, maybe that would be the 4 things that you need. Another fascinating one that I personally thought of was maybe these simple locks. I can't remember if there's 3 of these or 4 of these. I thought there were 4 of them total. So there's at least 1 in the basement, and then there's 2 or maybe there's 3 in the care center. So I just can't remember because I've opened a bunch of them on different saves, but maybe it's opening all of those, getting all the lock picks and opening all of the simple locks. Also, there's safes. I can't remember if there's 3 or 4 of these things either. But if you open all the safes, maybe that would be one of the triggers, right? I don't know. It could be any number of things. And then there's another big series of things to think about here logically. So there's one hint that's not before the helicopter sequence. And that's the one with Leon over here after the police station one. And there's one where you can kick a head through a basketball hoop and it says no time for playing around, which is kind of ironic. No playing around. And then after you interact with a body that the head is attached to, and it says just ignore A. But by this point, you can't go back in time and do it. So it kind of leads you to believe that the developers kind of intended for us to play through the game once and then solve the puzzle twice, which would line up with the idea of finding the doll somehow. Because you'd find the doll, maybe you'd look at some of the codes and stuff, and then you'd go through the police station, and that's where you find out ignore A, And then after that, on your next playthrough, everything else is accessible from the care center. You don't need to go past this point after you have those two things. Everything else can be done in here. It's also possible that maybe in all of these different notes, maybe there's enough hints in here, some secret hints we have in here. So like as you complete the game the first time, you'll get the hints that you need in order to find the doll and ignore the A. Then you play again and you find the doll, and then you play again and then you do the puzzle. So maybe they intended for you to play it like 3 times in order to solve this. So logically, it all does kind of line up. One thing we are worried about, though, is like, what if it's glitched? What if it's like not in the game? What if it's like finding Mew in Pokemon Red and Blue and is literally only found by glitching out like the RAM on your computer or something? And somehow, you know, rarely that can happen, and that's why we only have one person ever who's done it like that we know of, and we don't even know if the person's telling the truth or not. It really seems believable, but we never know for sure, you know, so it's like, who knows? Another thing that some people think, it might have something to do with Marie. So we don't know Marie is the name of the monster here. And so one thing people thought could go 2 different ways. One way could be that you have to never hurt Marie, including with light, or that you can only hurt Marie once or twice or 3 times, depending on if it's trigger 2 or trigger 4, okay? So it's like, has Marie been hit or injured less than 2 or less than 4 times? On the flip side, it could be the opposite, which would be like, have you shot at Marie? And if you've shot and hit Marie at least 2 times, or maybe you've shot her at least 4 times, or depending on how the programming works, 3 times or 5 times. But is it about hitting Marie or not hitting Marie? So like, that's another thing that people were wondering. And then another thing that some people brought up is that in the collection pool during the basement, there's a lever you can pull which will drain this pool of blood. And so people thinking maybe that's related, because some people are thinking, this is more lore than it is like programming, is that, well, like maybe it's that the doll is getting washed in the blood, like washed away in the blood, and then ending up there because something that you're doing. That's why flushing the toilets is flushing the sewage, you know what I mean, and flushing the pipes or something. And it's kind of superstition in my opinion, but that's something else that people are thinking, and I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. And then there's another one that I've thought of that's like, I really don't think it's this, but I just wanted to share this with you. So the wristbands, I don't know if I even have it with me anymore on this save, but yeah, I don't have it. The wristbands, level 1, level 2, level 3 wristbands. There's glitches for each of the 3 that will allow you to get past, you know, wherever you are and be able to keep all of them by the end. So it's possible to get here and have all 3, including the level 2 wristband. So in order to do this, the level 1 wristband, you just have to not open one of the doors that is 4. It'll give you a check mark at one point, even though you could still go open the doors, which is kind of weird. Then for the level 2 one, which gets used right here, I think I found a way to make it not get used. There's a few different ways to make it not get used up and removed from your inventory. One of them was you can skip the cutscene in the lead researcher's office, so you can go and get the corrosive acid from the conference room, but then just leave. And then go and do everything you need on the other side with the organs and stuff. Take the organs over to the examination room, get the level 2 thing, and then use it here before you had Victor Gideon's cutscene here. Which after you do that, it'll make it so you go here and there is no cutscene. It'll literally skip that cutscene, okay? And then you'll have the level 2 wristband. Even after opening the door, you can go put it in storage. You need to go put it in storage, though, if you want to keep it. Because otherwise, if you don't do that, when you pick up the level 3 one, it'll get rid of the level 2 one. Kind of weird. Then the level 3 one, if you go over here and, I mean, you just have to not open this room here and you'll have it. And then there's also some way to make it glitch to where it will keep it in your inventory. Some people said you analyze the hand and then go do it, and then it'll keep it in your inventory. I'm not really sure. I just feel like that's a red herring, though. But I did want to throw that out there because I thought it was fascinating that each of the 3 wristbands can get glitched and stay in your inventory even when they're like not useful anymore. Also, one other thing that's just fascinating, I kind of want to leave this thought with you, is when you get grabbed at this elevator by Marie and her hand gets chopped off, I actually forgot about this, and she actually is looking at you, and as she's pulling you in the elevator, she says, "Let's play." So like, that's the same line. She says, "Let's play," and then you analyze her hand and it says, "Let's play." I just wanted to share it with you because it was really, really fascinating. Some people also said maybe when you play as Leon in the care center, maybe Leon has to do something. Maybe Leon has to flush the toilets. Maybe Leon has to interact with the doll in here. I don't know. It could be any number of things, honestly. But I just wanted to get you guys closer to the right track than we were on. So bringing a singer in the room, not going to be it. Probably not going to be it, at least. Nobody needs to hear the laugh. We don't need to try to make the laugh happen in the chairman's office somehow. Okay, That lab thing is completely isolated to the end of the puzzle, so we don't need to deal with that. It's literally now a game of finding the triggers. So theoretically, the toilet's a trigger, and we don't know what the other two are. So if you guys want to try 1.5 million things, if this video gets enough views, leave any comments you have with any ideas that you have about what it might be. And if you happen to find it, then feel free to post a video. When I post a video about the answer, I'll link to it if it's even solvable. And when the answer gets found, I will definitely post a video about it. But that's everything we got now. Those are all the new hints and updates. We're getting way closer now. We're almost there. And hopefully people can figure it out soon if it's even solvable, okay? But yeah, so that's all for today's update. Go out there and try some things, or just wait for the next update, and we'll hopefully figure this one out.